this video, we delve into one of the most tragic and shocking criminal cases in the UK, the story of a 7-year-old girl whose heartbreaking fate shook an entire community. Stay with us until the end, as we uncover details rarely covered in the media. If you're interested in real-life crime stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's dive into the chilling story of Katie Sharon Ruff. Katie Sharon Ruff was born in the city of York, England. With a population of over 200, York is one of England's most important and historically significant cities. From birth, Katie lived there with her parents, Paul and Alison Ruff. According to information about their family, Katie had a stepsister who was 8 years older than her and didn't live with them. Paul and Alison welcomed their first child together, Katie, in 2009, and did their best to ensure she grew up in a healthy and loving environment. And that's exactly what happened. Katie adored her parents. She had a close relationship with her grandmother and stepsister. She was a playful, warm-hearted child, and everyone loved her. In the final week of 2016, Paul and Alison officially got married and had a small wedding ceremony. Their daughter Katie was there with her parents, and the Ruff family spent a happy and joyful time together. Paul and Alison thought 2017 would start off great for them because every family member was happier than ever. With the new year beginning, Katie was very excited for her birthday. She would turn 8 on January 16, and her parents had planned a birthday party for her and her friends. Exactly 1 week before her 8th birthday, Katie left home after school to play. According to reports, at 4:20 p.m. on January 9, Katie was happily playing alone near her home when she met one of her neighbors. Based on a passerby's account, Katie knew this young neighbor, who looked to be 15 or 16 years old. The teenage girl joined Katie, and the two, laughing and seemingly playing, went to a park near the Ruff family's home. Katie was supposed to be home by 4:00 p.m. As time passed, Alison grew concerned but waited. Katie always went to play near her house and in the park, and nothing bad ever happened to her. 45 minutes passed, and Katie's mother's patience ran out. When she saw her daughter hadn't returned home, she anxiously called the police to report her 7-year-old daughter missing. But before she could even properly speak with the police station, she heard the sirens of a police car. Alison Ruff followed the sound and noticed a crowd had gathered at the nearby park, and police were keeping people away from the scene. Alison's anxiety doubled. Ignoring the crowd and the police who were setting up yellow tape around the area, she pushed people aside and ran toward the scene. In the middle of the park, exactly where her daughter always played, the bloodied body of 7-year-old Katie Ruff lay on the ground. Alison recognized her daughter with a single look and went to her. Katie's body was still warm. Crying loudly, Alison took Katie's head in her arms and sobbed, "They killed my baby." The ambulance hadn't arrived yet. No one knew for sure if Katie was dead, but she had clearly been stabbed, and there was a red mark around her neck. Police believed Katie might still be alive because the crime scene indicated the injuries were recent. However, Alison said as soon as she held Katie's head in her arms, she knew her daughter had lost her life. A few minutes later, the ambulance arrived. Katie was immediately taken to the hospital, and Alison went with them. Less than an hour later, at exactly 5:40 p.m., doctors with somber expressions came to Alison Ruff. They said they had tried to revive the child but were unsuccessful, and then they gave her the news of Katie's death. Alison said that although she was sure she had lost her daughter, a glimmer of hope remained in her heart until the doctors spoke. After Katie was pronounced dead, an autopsy was performed on her body, and the results showed that the cause of death was suffocation. It appeared someone had wrapped a cloth-like object around Katie's neck and choked her. Multiple injuries were also found on Katie's body, which the autopsy confirmed were inflicted after she had been suffocated and died. Her throat had been cut, and there were stab wounds on her upper body. She also had a relatively large cut on her stomach that caused her internal organs to protrude. All the injuries were made with a utility knife, and Katie didn't feel any of them because she had already died from suffocation before being injured. Katie had clearly been murdered, and this was undeniable. But why? Who was the killer? What reason did they have for killing Katie? The UK, like most countries, does not allow the media to disclose the identity of individuals under the age of 18 in court. It doesn't matter if the person is a perpetrator, a witness, or a victim. As long as they are under 18, their identity must not be revealed to the media and the public. Anyone who publicizes the identity of a minor is considered a criminal, with a relatively severe penalty. So why was Katie's identity revealed? This law only applies to living individuals, and Katie was not alive. The killer was. I'm explaining this so you understand that we know nothing about the killer's identity, name, or appearance because she was under 18. The person who killed Katie was the 15-year-old teenage girl who knew her, was playing with her that day, and whom Katie trusted. She was an ill-tempered teenager, but she always had a good relationship with children and had never even yelled at one. As I mentioned earlier, Allison Ruff called the police at 4:45 p.m. on January 9 to report her daughter missing. Exactly 10 minutes before Allison's call, a teenage girl used her phone to call the police from the same area where Katie's body was found and said in a trembling voice, "I killed her." She said nothing else, and police used her phone to find her exact location and went to the scene. Meanwhile, as police were on their way to the park, a resident saw the teenage girl with bloody clothes on the street. She had a utility knife and a phone in her hand and wasn't speaking. When police arrived at the crime scene, they found Katie Ruff's body and then arrested the killer. A piece of paper was found at the crime scene that looked like a note. It read, "They are not human." When Katie Ruff was pronounced dead, the 15-year-old girl was formally arrested and charged with murder. From the first moment she saw the police, the killer told them that she had killed Katie but didn't remember how or have any details. During police questioning, investigators discovered that the teenage killer suffered from auditory hallucinations and delusions. She heard voices that others didn't and had strange behaviors. They checked her background and, by searching her room, realized the 15-year-old girl had done everything she did to Katie to her dolls as well. They found several dolls in her room with their stomachs ripped open or their heads detached from their bodies. Scars on her body and her Instagram activity showed that she had been self-harming for a long time, cutting her arms and legs with a sharp object. Exactly a few days before Katie's murder, this girl had posted a picture of fresh wounds on her body on Instagram with the caption, "Mentally, I'm really not okay." Based on the information we have, we know she loved horror stories and started self-harming after a close friend died. She had suicidal thoughts, a morbid fascination with the dead, and read many science fiction stories. The 15-year-old killer in this case kept referring to robots during questioning. Between every sentence, she mentioned that robots were hiding among regular people and that even her family members were robots. The murder weapon she used was a green glove, which was her own, and she used it to suffocate Katie. Then, with a utility knife she had stolen from her grandmother's house, she cut Katie's throat and ripped open her stomach to see if she was a robot. She said she was absolutely certain that Katie was a robot and not a human. That was the reason for the note that read, "They are not human," found beside the body. The killer, though 15 years old, wasn't attending school because she had been expelled in 2017 due to her mental state. Unfortunately, information about the 15-year-old girl is very limited because due to her young age, UK authorities made every effort to ensure she was not identified and her name was not leaked to the media. It was clear that the 15-year-old girl's mental state was not good. Therefore, before a major court hearing was held for her, a medical team hospitalized the killer for 12 weeks to conduct mental health assessments. The main trial was held in July 2017. For the first time, the killer told the court that she had suffocated Katie with a glove and then cut her throat and ripped open her stomach with a knife to see if she was a human or a robot. After the murder, while still holding the bloody knife, she left the park, went to a dead end, and called the police to report what she had done. The 15-year-old killer pleaded not guilty in both the first and main trials and her lawyer argued that she was innocent due to her lack of mental soundness and decision-making ability. What does this mean? Certain mental illnesses where the person cannot distinguish right from wrong can lead to a criminal not receiving a prison sentence and no longer being seen as a criminal. In these cases, the person is no longer viewed as a criminal but as a patient. These patients do not receive the death penalty and usually do not get life sentences. Instead of prison, they are transferred to special psychiatric hospitals. In the case of Katie Ruff's murder, the 15-year-old girl's lawyer told the court that his client was not mentally sound and could not distinguish right from wrong, and therefore, she was innocent. After this plea of not guilty, several other court sessions were held, and in the end, it was determined that the killer suffered from a mental illness and lacked the ability to make sound decisions. However, there was a disagreement about what illness she had. The majority believed she was schizophrenic, but not all doctors involved in the case agreed on this. A debatable point in this case is that the murder of Katie was declared as manslaughter due to mental illness. Manslaughter is a less severe crime than first or second-degree murder. Many disagreed with this classification because the killer's torn-up dolls showed that the murder had been planned in advance. The dolls were torn up exactly like Katie's body, and it seemed the killer had done the same things to Katie's body that she had done to the dolls. When the matter of premeditated murder was raised in court, the situation was getting worse for the 15-year-old killer. It was suggested to her that with all the evidence, if she would simply accept her guilt and stop pleading not guilty, they would agree that the murder was committed due to mental illness. Forget about first and second-degree murder and settle for manslaughter. The 15-year-old girl accepted the court's proposal and changed her plea from not guilty to guilty during the July trial. Her defense lawyer said in court that the girl was extremely mentally fragile and not prepared to be in court. Therefore, the trial was postponed for several months, and the final session was held on September 7, 2017. In the final court session, the 15-year-old killer was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 5 years, and considering her mental state, she was sent to a special juvenile prison. This means if she has good behavior for 5 years in prison and does not do anything inappropriate, she will be allowed to file for parole. After she files, her case will be reviewed again, and if the judge determines she is eligible, she will be conditionally released. Conditional release does not mean complete freedom. A person released on parole has some restrictions, including on leaving the country, finding a job, and a criminal record. Although individuals released on parole no longer live within 4 walls and are present in society, they are not truly free and cannot establish a good life for themselves. The situation is slightly different for the killer in this case because the media and the public don't know her identity. However, the fact that she could be released on parole shows she will be under the supervision of the judicial system for the rest of her life. According to the sentence she received, more than 5 years have passed since 2017, and it is expected that she has filed for parole. Has she been released? We don't know because the media is not allowed to publish news about her. Personally, I don't think she has been released yet, because if she had, it would have at least been mentioned that Katie Ruff's killer was released on parole. In short, the latest news regarding this case is the sentence the 15-year-old girl received. The 15-year-old killer in this case was born in 2002 or 2001 and is currently 23 or 24 years old. She is still alive, and we don't know if she is free or imprisoned. What is her mental state? Does she regret what she did? How is she living? We don't know anything about the 15-year-old girl, but we do know that Katie Ruff never saw her 8th birthday and lost her life exactly 1 week before her celebration. In your opinion, in cases like this, who should be blamed? The 15-year-old who is sick, the family who ignored their child's mental state, or the school that didn't follow up on the student's self-harming? Who should be considered guilty when the killer is still a child herself? In my opinion, all of these people are guilty in some way. What do you think?